All right, hey guys, it's Scott Roussel, Football Scoop. Very excited to have so many people on this video. We have this is the first time. Football Scoop's been around 21 years, and it's the first time we've done a clinic. We pride ourselves on being there for the coaching community, and this is a time when just so many of us need to rally around each other. The coaching community, we compete on Friday nights. We compete Saturdays. But in all honesty, we're always there for each other, and we share like none others. We root for each other like none other, and we want to help. So to the extent Football Scoop can do anything to help the coaching community, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. You guys know how to get in touch with us. Very excited to have this clinic process getting going. We're going to be doing several of these a day for the foreseeable future. Our national content manager, Doug Samuel's done a great job getting these things up and running. Doug, who by day is a content manager for Football Scoop, is also a high school head football coach up in the state of Michigan. So he's quite in tune to these things. All right, with that said, Doug, take it away. Get us going.
Hey, thanks, Scott. Hey, again, thanks everyone for joining us. Like Scott said, I'm Doug Samuels. I'll be kind of serving as the host through this whole thing. We plan on doing this the next few weeks. Really excited to get this going, give coaches an outstanding platform to share some ideas. And like Scott said, as a high school coach myself, I couldn't be more excited to just get on here and share ideas. So, a few reminders, to ask a question, type it in the chat that you'll see in the, I think it's the right-hand side. I'll make a note of it, and then we can bring it up to Zach here at the end. I'll be taking some notes kind of throughout this whole deal, and then we'll have an article afterwards. So we'll make that available as soon as this is done. We'll publish it to the Football Scoop YouTube channel, and then publish it as an article on the website, so everyone that can't view it live is able to see it. So we're really excited to have Cedar Hill High School running backs coach Zach Kelly join us. He'll be talking about how to create a culture within your position group. So, Coach Kelly, share your screen, man, and the room is yours.
Hey, guys, I just want to appreciate y'all for all logging on and, thinking that I'm worth listening to for a little bit. I really appreciate y'all. Like I said, it's weird times, so, I just doing the best that we can to keep getting better. So, again, I'm just going to go ahead and start. Again, this is a topic that I really care a lot about. This is something that's really important to me with my group as a running backs coach here at Cedar Hill. And I just appreciate y'all again. All right. So creating a culture within your unit. This is such a big thing for me because, I feel like it's always one of those topics that, it just kind of gets pushed to the side. There's so much talk about creating a culture within a program and that's great and all, and it's really beneficial to do that. But I understand, you got to kind of understand how that's got to work. So to start there, you get the basic core beliefs, okay, the core values, and eventually you're going to keep on moving down to within your units. And it's the job of the unit leader, the position coach, to instill that culture and create their own subculture within that. As long as it's not detrimental to the program's culture that they're trying to develop, it just goes a little bit further when you focus on your unit in particular. It's almost like small group teachings. If you're in a classroom, you're ever in a classroom setting, you got 32 is your class. You won't be able to get as much accomplished unless you break those up into small groups where you're able to teach them the individual beliefs or culture, whatever that you have. So that's something that's always stuck in my mind, that you got to try and build within that unit. You got to try and build within that unit. And again, everything will start to build off itself, and then you'll get that full buy-in. So you guys see here, I got two hashtags. I got TTHL, that's our program. That's our program saying. TTHL, turn those horns loose. If you heard me doing a podcast with Coach Nash the other day, talked about it's just an energy. It's almost magic. We've had that saying for a while since, Coach Joey McGuire, who's at Baylor now, he was the head coach for Cedar Hill. And, we've just stuck with that, and it's done a lot of good for our team. And then the other one is house call. That's my own spin on things, within my unit that I'm going to talk about to give y'all an example of it. So again, what will be covered? So I'm gonna go over my house call example because, like I said, this is how I do stuff. It could be right, could be wrong. You can hate it, you can love it. But this is the can somebody get their mic off, please?
I gotcha. I think I found it. We're good.
There we go. Thank you.
You keep rolling.
So, I appreciate you, brother. So again, what will be covered again, the house call example again. I might be right, I might be wrong, but I'm going to tell y'all exactly how I do it. I'm going to explain how I do it and how I progress through it a little bit, kind of giving y'all ideas as we go through. If you want to use them, feel free. If you like them, let me know, please. If you have any other ideas as well, just go ahead and put them in the chat. Again, creating your process and why is it important? I kind of already went into why it's important, but I'm gonna go a little bit deeper. Creating your process, something that's authentic to you, I think is a really big deal that kind of gets pushed to the side a little bit. How and what does it look like? I'm going to give y'all specific examples. And then again, the next challenge is going to be, just after you've already done all this, you've already put it all in place, you've started working with your kids a little bit on it, that you are able to, continue to develop it, because that's something else that needs to be addressed as you go through here. All right. So again, this is my house call culture. Okay. Again, I coach running backs. It's funny, this house call thing, it started out, when I interviewed with the head coach, the OC, the DC, and the assistant head coach and special teams coordinator, when I wanted to get the job of the running backs coach, I had this idea. I'm a huge Urban Meyer fan, right? And they always talked about, his last break, before they hit the field was showtime. And, I was like, oh, man, I love that. So I put it on everything, and I get the job and I start trying to explain it to the kids, and I'm like, I'm not really feeling that, coach. All right, then whatever. Y'all ain't feeling it. If you don't like it, then we ain't got to do it. But y'all got to come up with something. And, the kids actually came up with a house call, always taking it to the house. And, they loved it. And they built off of it. And that's something I'm going to talk about, man. You got to have the input. You got to have the input from the kids. They did it. They changed it. I wasn't too stubborn, said, no, it's got to be showtime. And, I let them run with it. And, we kind of just developed it all together. So again, this is the basis for the meeting that I have with the kids, in the early on, if we got new players, like new freshmen, we have a transfer kid, I'm going to go over with all this with them. I'm going to sit down with it. I'm going to explain. And then, we're going to continuously talk about it through the stint that they're with me. The whole 4 years that you're going to be with me, you're going to hear these exact same things, because they're going to be part of your DNA. This is our culture. This is how we do stuff in the running back room at Cedar Hill High School. So you're either going to buy in or you're going to be bought out. You may end up leaving, may end up not, you may end up going to another position, whatever. You can't play for me, whatever. That's totally up to you. But these are like my non-negotiables. So again, I said we do everything. We're a complete back, no block, no PT. You always hear coaches say no block, no rock, but I'm even bigger, man. If you're not willing to block, you're not willing to sell out for your teammate, you're going to be sitting right by me on the sidelines. So that's something that I always stress to them. And that's the very first thing I do, because, running backs, man, they want to score touchdowns. They want to get the ball. So, just putting that family emphasis and the selflessness part on there that we're going to talk about, it just goes a long way, I believe. The three things: family, selflessness, and pride. Forget about me, I love you. Everybody's heard that saying, but I always love it. So there's sometimes where I'm not a big cliche guy, but then some of these cliches really just got me twisted. I'm always sitting there thinking about it. I'm like, dang, whoever came up with that needs a raise or something. Selflessness, that goes to the blocking. No block, no PT. We're always trying to talk about how you need to do stuff for your teammates, for your brothers. And, this group right here specifically, man, they're all three really good running backs. And they all worked hard. But the biggest thing that I'll tell them, and then I'll tell y'all about him, was, let's say 10 on the far left of your screen right here. He has a good drive. He has 5-6 runs straight. We're feeding him the ball, feeding him the ball. And he's gassed. He doesn't feel like he's gassed, but I see it. I put in 5 right next to him. 5 goes in on his first touch. He takes that sucker in and he scores. They wouldn't be normally, high school kids, it's high school nature and human nature to be like, dang, that should have been me. That should have been mine. Coach pulled me out. Why did he pull me out? Well, I'll tell you what, 10 was the first one congratulating 5 on the sidelines. He was dang near on the field a couple times where I had to pull him back off. And I think that goes to the culture that we build, you know, talking about selflessness and, you know, just being excited for your brother and playing for your brother. And then the last thing is pride. But again, that's just going back to the blocking, man. You got to have pride in your school, pride in your team, pride in your unit, and pride in what you do. So you can't take plays off. You know, I talk about how I don't say half speed reps. I say that these are game reps. You know, you're going full speed even in practice. You got to take game reps, game cuts, game blocks, game catching the ball, whatever it is. That's what we do. You know, the every time we touch the ball, we can score. That's just, you know, that's just a little swagger that I like to let them have. You know, we talk about that a whole bunch, and you know, they really love that. You know, some of it's hard to kind of bring back. You know, they get a first down on a third down, and you know, they're kind of upset that they didn't go score. Well, shoot, go get it next time. You know, reward big plays without the football. That's something that I do, even something small. You know, if 24 has a great block, you know, just destroys somebody, lays out, we score a touchdown. You know, 10 does the same thing on the next drive, 5 does the same thing on the next drive. You know, I'm gonna bring them something the next day. You know, we have film on Saturday mornings after they work out. I'll say, hey, y'all don't worry about breakfast. I got y'all. I'll bring them donuts. You know, after practice, I'll bring them an ice cold Gatorade. I'll tell them, hey, whoever has the best block today has the best ice cold Gatorade after practice that you've ever tasted. And they'll fight and they'll talk and they'll compete for it. You know, and it's just crazy how little things like that, you know, rewarding them without the ball, they talk about that more than their touchdowns. And then again, spend time away from football together. For some people, this may look different, but, you know, for the house call culture, you know, I invited them all over. You know, I had, you know, 10 running backs in my house. And, you know, I fed them, made them some food, gave them something to drink, and we ended up having like a little 2K and Madden tournament. So those things just go so far in building your unit culture, and what I'm really going to get into today. And again, this is how I do it. You know, I think it made a big difference in our team and in our running back room, and you know, this is the only way I know how to do it. So this is just something that I want to really emphasize, and you know, I'm going to get into kind of general talks, but keep this in mind as we go through and how I built it. All right. So why is it important? Okay, I really got 3 goals when I sat here and I started talking about, you know, building culture within the running back room. You know, ownership. You know, there's so many people that are trying to advance their career so rapidly. You know, trying to go from a position coach to a coordinator to head coach to, you know, whatever. If you want to coach at the college level, you come from the high school level, whatever. But people don't often understand how important their role is at the moment. If you get so caught up in trying to say, man, I should be calling plays, I want to call plays, you know, you're kind of cheating the kids. And that's not fair to them. Now, I'm not saying don't have ambition. I got a lot of ambition. You know, I got big goals that, you know, I put out there a whole bunch. But, you know, I'm going to do a service to these kids by trying to teach them right and within my unit, and I'm not going to be looking for my next opportunity. I'm going to focus on these guys. These are the only job that I have right now, so it's the only thing I can focus on. It really gives you ownership when you're trying to build that culture. You're not just pushing it off for somebody else to say, oh, well, you know, that's a head coach's job, or, oh, that's a coordinator's job. You know, it's your job. You are the head coach of your unit. You know, you got to treat it like such. The second goal is accountability and relationships. You know, this is something that I'm so big on, is building relationships. You know, I scream sometimes, I get mad sometimes, but, you know, for the most part, I believe my kids play hard for me because of, you know, they trust me. You know, they trust the program, they trust the coaching staff, they trust what we do, and they play hard as heck, you know, and they want to win, you know. They just do all this stuff, and it's partially because we're able to hold them accountable because they trust us, you know. I had a running back last year. You know, he thought every play was his ball. We do some 2-back stuff. He thought every play was his ball. If we're in split back, he's going to try and switch sides with the running back on the other side to make sure he's getting the football. This is like week 2 or week 3. We're still talking about it. You know, and I eventually – I lost my mind. He tried to do it one time in practice, and I absolutely lost my mind. I went crazy. Yeah, I'm serious. I went absolutely crazy in the middle of the field, like fit and everything. You know, we're still trying to run plays, and I'm losing my mind. You know, and the kid's kind of getting upset. He kind of hangs his head a little bit, but then 5 minutes later, you know what he does? He comes up to me and says, "You know what, coach, I'm sorry. You know what? You're right. You know, that's not what house call's about." So he came up and, you know, I was able to get on him like I've never gotten on anybody else before. You know, he's a senior. He's going to go someplace next year and ball out for them. But at that moment, he was really worried about, you know, my reaction and, you know, the relationship that we had, you know, and he wasn't worried about how I was coaching him hard. So that's why another reason why this is important. And the third reason, again, is maximize their potential. This kind of goes back to number 2. You know, this ain't 1970 anymore. You can't just yell at kids and expect them to say yes, sir, and just move on and go through. You have to have those relationships in order to maximize their potential. Well, how do you go on building your relationships? You try and build this culture. Okay, again, I'm going to talk about that and how that happens. But again, if you get a kid to buy in for you, they're going.
Zach, you there?
You know, and sad as it is, sometimes this may be the only group that, you know, truly cares about them unconditionally. So that's on the weight of your shoulders. That's why this is so important to me. Yeah, I'm telling y'all right now, if there are so many coaches that are underappreciated because of their win record. There are so many coaches that are underestimated because of their win-loss value. But the biggest thing is some of the best coaches can build these relationships. Build this subculture, and again, get kids to go and play, do their absolute best. But more importantly, they're building kids for the next level. You know, not college, adulthood. You know, to be able to go out in the community and make a change. So again, those are 3 reasons why this is so important. Again, if you have any questions, you know, just put them in the chat, and you know, I'm pretty passionate about this stuff. So just again, feel free to put it in there. All right. So moving on. So that's my, you know, why is it important and how I do stuff. Okay. Now, if you're obviously watching this because you obviously want to develop some type of subculture within your unit group, or you want, you know, you're a head coach, you want your position coaches to kind of take it more seriously or whatever. So again, this is the plan of attack. What's your process going to be the second you hop off here? You know, maybe you're taking notes right now. You're relating them to what you're going to do, but what are you going to do to try and build your subculture, build your culture within your unit? Again, what's your process? The very first thing that I'm going to tell you, and this is huge, figure out a process that is authentic to you. Whatever it is, whether it's your brand, whatever you need to do, you need to make sure that it's true to you. Because if you try and go out there, you know, let's say you're a quiet guy. You're a real quiet guy. You're real calm, cool demeanor, you know, never freak out. But one of your big things is like energy and intensity. You know, kids won't, they're just going to kind of shrug you off because they know it's not you, you know, and that's part of creating your culture is you have to live it too. So again, figure out what your culture is, what your subculture is, your non-negotiables. And then align them what's authentic to you. What do you want these kids to get better at that you feel you can model for them? Because, again, if you're modeling it and you're doing it, man, the kids will buy in no matter what. The next thing is, you know, you always have to align your values with the unit, with the core values of your program. Again, don't go crazy. Don't think you got to try and push the other core values out. You know, my core values that I made for House Call specifically lined up with, you know, our core values at Cedar Hill. Selflessness, mental toughness, accountability, you know, and all that stuff. And they all complement each other. And that's what I'm saying. It's so important that you align your values with your unit, with the values of your program. Because, again, you're just creating another avenue, another way to make your kids better. You know, push them through, make them better men. And again, obviously, you know, everybody wants to win. The wins will follow. The relationships will be there. But again, you have to make sure that these align. Otherwise, you're just gonna be doing, whatever you want just because you want to. You always got to make sure that they align with the core values of your program. Okay, this is almost a little marketing thing, man. You got to brand it. I gave the kids the opportunity. I had an idea that I want to do Showtime. I was just trying to put a label on it. They chose House Call, and they ran with it. I'm going to show y'all here in a second another way that they ran with it, and something that we did, which was pretty neat. Brand it. Kids love it. You'll see them on Twitter using hashtag House Call. See them on Instagram using hashtag House Call. We got a whole bunch of stuff made, and, they loved it. So, they got some, sometimes there's 1,000 acronyms out there for y'all to use if y'all want. It doesn't have to be just a house call. You guys could do the EAT thing, energy, attitude, toughness. You could do all that types of stuff, but you got to make sure that you brand it so that way your kids can celebrate it. They can really talk about it. I could go up to one of my running backs right now and ask them what house call is about. And, they won't hesitate. They're going to tell you. They're going to tell you straight up what's house call about. How does it match up with, Cedar Hill High School football core values? And they'll be able to do that. Because, again, it's something that we've spent a lot of time, and, it's authentic. It goes with the values of our program, and it's got a brand to it. You always got to build it. Again, meet with your players. This one's a really big one for me because you got to have minimal football talk. I'm not saying all the time. Obviously, when you have your meetings, you have your film sessions. Obviously, you got to talk football, but you got to take time out of your day to meet with your players separately and not talk football. Again, this goes to the relationship aspect piece. You want to build your culture. You got to be able to talk to them not about football. Shoot, talk to them about life. Talk to them about, their family situation, how they're doing. How's their mom? How's their dad, aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa? But you got to take time and not talk football. And I know you guys, that's pretty tough for me. Okay, I always want to talk football. I always want to try and make them better football players. But, again, I'm always going to take time, and it may be something as, after practice. They change, sitting in the hallway or by the door as they're leaving the campus, and you're saying, hey, man, how you doing? You doing good? Oh, yeah, coach, I had a good practice. No, I'm not talking about practice, man. How are you doing? Again, it'll kind of catch them off guard for a second, but then, oh, well, I'm doing good. And, again, they're probably going off thinking, well, Coach Kelly's a little crazy. But then, they're walking back down and they're like, Coach kind of cares about me. All right, I understand now. Again, minimal football talk when you try and meet with your players outside of the realm of football. Obviously, you're in practice, meetings, film, whatever it is, then you can talk football. But you got to try and minimize that football talk when you're trying to build your culture. Talk about how your culture relates to life. And, again, unit outings, I did this a little bit, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit more. But, again, when I invited them over for the cookout, again, we didn't talk football, and the kids got to spend time with one another. We're in a cell phone society where everything's text message, Twitter, DM, Instagram, TikTok, MySpace, whatever it is. But that's how they communicate. So you got to really try and force yourself to go out of your way and try and get this group of young men to sit there and not be on their phones. Sit there and talk to one another, face-to-face contact. Again, get them to buy in for one another through those relationships. You're worried about your relationships with you to your players, but you also got to try and develop those relationships within your players to your players. And, those unit outings are so big. Again, I don't let them talk football. You cannot talk football. 10 of y'all come over to Coach Kelly's house, preseason cookout before we do anything. There's no football talk. The only football y'all can talk is Madden. And that's what it's going to be. And, it forces them to actually talk, and they really come out their shell. At first, it's a little awkward because they're trying to stare at their phone and kind of do this, trying to make it work, trying to make it go off or something. But it really goes a far way in developing your culture by forcing those relationships to happen. Again, this kind of goes to the brand, the brand of House Call. Okay, so again, they created the name. I had one of my buddies who is a phenomenal graphic designer, part-time. He really coaches. Steven Jackson, he created this guy for me right here. Okay, again, I told him, I said, I want a Cedar Hill football player I want them holding the ball just like they scored with their arms up, like touchdown, because that's what house call is. So he came up with this, put it together. So I put it on a shirt. I sent it to one of our people to make shirts. I said I want house call somewhere. I said I want half season, which is remembering a coach who passed away last year. I want half season 19, which was our team motto, and then our offensive motto on the back, which was Nasty Boys. You know, we're talking about being physical and just being downright mean on offense. So, you know, I put this together. I gave them a couple options because, you know, Coach Samuels and I were talking before this, you know, the short sleeve hoodies and stuff, the no sleeve hoodies. I gave them a couple of those options. Man, those things sold like hotcakes. And what I did was I told them, I said, y'all need to look, y'all chip in $15. I got the other $5. Okay, they're $20 shirts. You're able to give me what you can, and I'll cover, and I'll be able to get you. Okay, I'll find a way. We'll be able to find a way to get that money covered. And the t-shirt people were nice, and they dropped the price. So they were able to get these. You know, they wear them around. They feel cool. All of them wore it the first day. I didn't even tell them. They wore it the first day. Everybody in that school that saw them wearing this, like, man, that's pretty cool. They're like, oh yeah, it's our running back shirt. And then all of a sudden I had people trying to come up to me, order them, loved it. Okay, but again, it's just another aspect where, you know, the kids got something that they really, you know, it's their brand. It's what they've worked hard for, and they were able to actually, you know, wear it. And they just loved it. You know, I already got kids asking me if they could help me design next year's T-shirt. And I even told them I'm going to do T-shirts. And, like, my plan is, you know, kids love those old Live Strong bands, the rubber bands that go around your wrist. I told them I'm probably going to make one of those that say House Call and TTHL or Cedar Hill Running Backs, House Call, TTHL, all that stuff. Just because they love it so much that it's their brand. They helped create it. And, you know, that it truly means a lot to them. All right, so how? Okay, so again, I kind of talked about a couple examples. I'm getting a little bit more specifics. You know, again, the other cliche that I'm always stuck on, man, is how do you spell love? Or how do you spell love? Time. Okay, because to create love, you have to spend time with your players. It can't just be off football. Okay, you have to spend time with them. You have to be able to talk with them, communicate with them. And, again, that's how you get to number 3 is know your players. You got to know them. You got to know their personalities. You got to know what they like, how they like to be coached. You got to like how they like to be pushed. You got to know your players so that way when you're developing your plan, your process, you could develop something that caters specifically to them. You know, obviously you're not going to have one size fits all for players. That's just not happening. They're like snowflakes. Everyone's different. But, you know, you get to know your players and you get a general feeling for your group. And again, guess what? It all goes back to the relationships. Now you're knowing your players, you're spending time with them. The buy-in is there for you. You know, they're going to fight for you. They're going to believe anything that you're telling them. You could look out, the sky could be clear as day blue, and you could tell them it's green, but they're going to back you up because that's what they believe, and they trust you and they believe in you. Okay, again, over-communication. You know, you got to over-communicate. You know, I over-communicate expectations, you know, times that they got to be at campus, you know, all that good stuff, SATs coming up, all that stuff. Over-communication. You know, it even goes to the point where, you know, some kids, this can make a kid's day. You know, they go home, they had a bad practice. You send them a short text, DM, Instagram, team, team group sites, you know, band, group me, Telegram. Say, hey man, I saw you struggle today, but that's just one day. See you tomorrow. Let's get better. Just something like that, you know. It's you know, just over communicating with your players and letting them know that you care. You're always thinking about them. You're always thinking about how to make them better. You're always thinking about how to make them better men. And then again, build your brand. Okay, we already talked about that as building your brand. You know, once you create it, once you brand it, you got to build it. So again, what are you going to do to build your brand? Are you putting it out there on social media? Do your kids know it? Okay, because that's the biggest thing. If you haven't communicated that to your kids, your brand, your expectations, there's no way they're going to be able to expand that and, really buy into it. And then again, here's some examples that I've used in the past. One-on-one meetings to start the season, I've done that. Where you sit down, you talk to them. Again, I'm going to try and not do football talk. If I do, I may have a small talk about their role. Hey, right now you're sitting as like the number 3 back, but on the season, or you're looking like the starter if you keep working right now. And they'll be like, okay, yes, coach. I'll say, all right, how are you doing, man? How's school going? How's your girlfriend doing? Oh, coach, we broke up. Oh, man, I'm sorry to hear that. Just stuff like that. Just want those one-on-one meetings. Okay, and then you got your unit meetings. You can address them as a team, as a unit, man. Get them all together. Just, again, get them together in a meeting after practice and just don't talk to them about football. If you got some scheme things, maybe go over it real quick if you can't help yourself. But, again, talk to them not about football and really talk to them about how they are. And, again, that's just something that goes back to knowing your players. If your players are all best friends since they were 2 years old, they'll probably open up a little bit more in front of each other. But if they're all just they're all quiet guys, you probably know you got to have those one-on-one meetings to try and help build your brand. Again, I do the cookouts, the small rewards. Again, that's where I talked about bringing in donuts or just something, for my example, for house call, big block breakfast on Saturday. So just something like that. Again, Gatorade after practice for best block, whatever. Just something the small rewards that, may cost you like $2. Okay. But it means so much to a kid that you're going out of your way and doing that for them. That again, it's just going to keep growing your brand. It's going to keep growing and growing and growing. Because again, the relationships and the trust are there. Again, social media, how do you sell it? Another cliche, man, is you got to tell your story or other people will. So, I'm always putting out house call. I'm always talking up my kids on Twitter, and they love it. Again, how are you building that brand? There's a bunch of people that, because I'm doing this, now know about house call, and they're trying to incorporate house call in what they do. So that's just another way that you put your story out there. Let your kids see. Your kids love to be recognized on social media more than anything. They look for that notification where it says, Coach Kelly tagged you in a photo. And it's a picture of them trucking somebody. Or it's a picture of them cleaning up after practice. They look for that stuff. They live for that stuff. Again, do a Madden tournament. Some people won't be able to invite them over or whatever. Say you got a studio apartment. Okay? Can't have a bunch of kids over. Okay? Bring an Xbox and hook it up to your guys' film room. Stay for 20, 30 minutes after practice. Do a quick Madden tournament. If it's preseason, you got some extra time, or maybe you're doing 2 days, which I don't know how many people actually do those anymore. But just take your time and do that. Again, small things that in the grand scheme of it, it goes so far with your kids and your subculture and your relationships. Because that's what all this boils down to. Again, I talked about the wristbands, the Live Strong bands. And again, those are just some stuff that I've done. Again, how do you want to do it to make it authentic to you? All right, so now you're kind of getting you've done it for a little bit. Excuse me. You've done it for a little bit. You're starting to see you're starting to see light bulbs go off. Okay, again, what does it look like, man? It's your athlete speaking your language. So again, I talk about selflessness a lot. I talk about having pride in your block. And when you hear your athlete speaking your language, when you hear your first string running back telling your 15th string running back, your first quarterback telling your third quarterback, okay, you got whoever it is, when they're talking to one another, they're using the language that you created. They're using the language that you created, that you built to try and help them. Okay, again, the interaction with teammates and other coaches. How do they interact? Okay, and I'm not talking about the language right now. I'm talking about body language. I always talk to my running backs about pride. How do they present themselves? Do they present themselves in like a prideful way? How's their body language when they're doing it? Okay, interaction with teammates and the other coaches. And again, the last thing I'm going to talk about for this part is the meeting room. What does your meeting room look like? You can always tell how much a coach has put in by how the kids sit in the meeting room. Don't tell them anything. But when Cedar Hill running backs show up for film with the entire offense, they sit together. They sit together. They're engaged. You know, I got one kid that may have narcolepsy. I don't know. His eyes are always half shut. Okay, but he's a ball player. But how are they in that meeting room? Are they sitting together? Are they intent on whoever's talking? If one coach is talking over here, if the coordinator's talking on this side, and another position coach, I don't care who it is, a receivers coach or whatever, is talking, they're going to turn to there. They're going to turn to that side because somebody's talking. What are you instilling in your kids? And that's what it looks like. When you start seeing this stuff, you know, again, around, you see it in the meeting room, all that good stuff, you know you're on the right track. You know you're doing something right. You know your kids are buying in. Again, they're buying in more than just the shirts, the wristbands. They're doing it with their actions. And again, I always tell them, you know, don't tell me what you think. Show me. You know, they got to show me exactly. And again, I'm not telling them that I'm looking, but it's just those small things that I look for. Okay, they'll never know. But again, I see those and I say, okay, I'm on the right track. You know, I got to keep doing it. Coach, you know, our head coach, Coach Lynn, always talks about Galatians 6:9. I'm going to probably mess it up, the exact scripture, but again, it just talks about how don't get tired in well-doing, for your season is coming and your due harvest, whatever. But it's talking about I'm probably going to get in trouble for messing that one up. But again, your season is coming in due time. Your harvest is coming in due time. You can't get tired in what you're doing. So, you know, you start to see these things, it's going to give you an extra spark to keep doing what you're doing. Do not get weary in doing right. Okay, so again, just keep looking out for those things as you continue to build your culture and your relationships. All right, so the next challenge. Okay, and this is kind of at the point where I'm at right now. Okay, so once your culture has been established, okay, this is where I'm at with this group. You have to be creative in how you continue to evolve it. Okay, so you can't just continuously do the same thing over and over and expect it to stick. You know, kids always, they need something new to catch their attention. They need something new. They need to be creative. You got to be creative and evolve so that way your culture doesn't die off. Again, you're continuously building it. You're growing it. So from my aspect, you know, to be creative and evolve, you know, you got to build off what you've done and you got to get input for players themselves. You know, last year in the playoffs, we talked about how the ball was the program. Okay, the ball was the program. Whenever you have the ball in your hands, you have the life of the program in your hands. So to that aspect, this year, you know, I've already started talking like, you know, again, I'm a running backs coach. So again, that's really important to us. So what I've already started doing is I've already getting contact with like high and tight footballs, that football that you hold that, you know, if you don't hold it right, multi-sensory gives you instant feedback and it'll beep if it stops going. Like if you're not holding it tight enough, if it's not high and tight, you know, I'm going to buy that and I'm going to probably even write the program on it. So, you know, now they got to hold this ball that says the program. The second that it comes off, it's going to beep. I'm going to have them carry this ball to practice. I'm going to have them carry it in drills. I'm just going to have them doing this all the time because now I'm showing like, hey, the pride. Okay, we got to keep doing the vital things, the little things right. You know, you got to hold that ball high and tight at all times. All times. This is the program in your hand. How do you develop that? You know, again, another way that I'm going to do it is I had a cookout last year. I had 2 cookouts. Okay, I had one cookout here with all my running backs. And then I had another cookout where it was the running backs and the offensive linemen. The offensive line coach ran that one. Did it at his place with a pool and stuff. He makes a little bit more. But so we did those 2. But what I truly want to what I want to evolve to is now something that we could do, and we did those both preseason. I want to do those in season every once in a while. I can't do it every week. That would be too much strain, and my wife might kill me. But you're able to evolve it where I want to evolve it to making sure that we're doing this at least, hey, let's do this twice a month. Let's do it once a month in season. You know, let's just get together. Let's do this. Let's completely forget about football for a minute. You always got to try and grow it. You always got to try and continuously build it. Otherwise, it will die. All the work you've put in, you know, the second that you stop asking kids about their day, you stop asking about their life, is the second that they're going to kind of, you know, kids are short-term memory. You know, they're not going to remember what you did for them 3 months ago. They're going to remember the instant thing that just happened. So you always got to continuously grow it and remind them exactly, you know, your care about them, your relationships with them, and your culture that you've created. You know, I got to constantly tell my guys, I'm sending them messages all the time about, hey, this is, you know, hey, make sure y'all are prideful today. Make sure y'all do something for your family today. Make sure you say one good thing about your brother, you know, your brother in the unit. You know, you always got to constantly evolve it and build off what you're doing. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is, you know, getting input from the players themselves. You know, it's okay. You're going to have that one kid that you could always go and say, hey, man, you know, how's the unit feel today? How's the unit feel? Okay, and they're going to tell you. You could always go to them and say, hey, how did they like this? You know, did you guys like it when y'all came over? Yeah, coach, well, we could have done this. All right, then you know what? Let's do that next time. As long as it's not crazy or reckless, let's go ahead and add that. You got to be willing to take input from your kids because they're the ones that you're really trying to, you know, get involved. You're trying to create that buy-in. And again, like I said, you know, this is after the point where you've developed all your relationships, you've set all your boundaries, you've set your culture, your non-negotiables, and you'll be able to have those communications. You know, always talking to your kids. And that's such an underestimated thing, you know, as football coaches. Sometimes we're a little ego-driven. But we always got to be trying to evaluate and evolve and getting the input from the players when it comes to culture. So that's something that, you know, again, once you get it, you grow it. And that's just something that I'm big on. And like I said, if you got any ideas, shoot, I'm all ears. Cause like I said, I might be wrong, might be right, but this is just how I've done it. So, you know, just save a little time for questions. I'm a little early, but again, this is my contact info. There's my email. There's my Twitter. You guys could go on and, you know, for the most part, like I said, it drives my wife crazy, but I always will answer your guys' responses. Maybe not super quick, maybe not right away, but I'm always trying to get back to everybody's responses, especially when I do this and they have questions. You know, I did a clinic the other day and I had a bunch of questions. I fielded a whole bunch of questions. I got to them back as soon as I can, and I think I just cleared them out this morning. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. Feel free to message me on Twitter, follow me on Twitter, and again, I'll be able to get back to you. All right, I appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Coach Kelly. Don't have any questions. I just kind of prompted for some questions here from everyone else, but I got one kind of timely for you. What are you doing to help create culture right now with your group with the quarantine and things like that going on? What you got? Anything you're doing special?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. So, you know what, the big thing that I've done is, you know, I've just been in contact with my kids. You know, again, it goes back to that relationship piece, and you know, they just know that in this time, this crazy time that none of us have ever experienced in our lives, that you know, I'm thinking about them. You know, and they're gonna, you know, a couple of them hit me back. Shoot, one of them beat me to the punch and he messaged me. But you know, just always doing that and just making sure that they know that I'm thinking about them. You know, that's the biggest thing. And, you know, I'll send them some motivational stuff. Tell them, hey, get a workout in, you know, take pride in what you've done over the past couple of weeks. And, you know, just trying to reiterate that.
Good stuff. From Jeff Steinberg, do you sit down as a group and set goals for the upcoming season with your guys? Is that something you guys do?
You know, I've honestly thought about that. I didn't do it. I haven't done it, but I've been seriously considering doing it for this upcoming year. You know, I have a menu. Like I got probably 20 goals that I want to get accomplished. And no matter what, I've been able to, you know, if we've done some of these goals, whatever 3 or 4 they pick, you know, we're going to be successful as a unit. So that's something that I will be adding. You know, I'm going to have them select it. Just want to make sure that they don't pick, hey, I want to touch the ball 25 times as one of their groups. It's like, guys, we may have to throw the ball some games. Right. So I'll let them do that, but I won't give them 100% complete reign in terms of, you know, picking our goals.
Yep, that makes sense. From Justin Hunter, what's the best way? And maybe this is for the room, but you know, I'll direct it at you, Coach Kelly. What's the best way you've found to communicate? Is it just old-fashioned text? Is it, you know, band or remind or WhatsApp? There's a bunch of different ways out there. What have you used?
Honestly, the best thing that I've used is like what's it called now? GroupMe. And you know, I'll still send kids the text, you know, a text here every once in a while, but GroupMe, like for group conversations, then you're able to go and private message one of your players. Man, it's probably been the best thing that I've had.
Interesting. All right, coaches, let me see if there's I just wanted to share your contact information again, Coach Kelly. Let me stop that share.
I said, do you want me to share my last slide again?
Yeah, pop that up there for coaches.
All right, I got you. There we go.
Beautiful. Hey, that wraps up our first session here. Coach Kelly sharing his contact information. We'll have video of the clinic posted on the website here shortly. As soon as I can get it up to YouTube, we'll have an article so you guys can reflect back on it. I know I took a bunch of screenshots of slides and things like that from Coach Kelly. But thanks again, coaches. We'll also have a tab at the top of the website for all the clinic stuff where you can find all the recorded clinics. And we'll be back soon with another coach, another topic. So stay tuned to the Scoop for the latest. So thanks a lot for your time, Coach Kelly.
All right. Thank you, Coach. I really appreciate y'all letting me come on.
Take care.